let me start with introducing the panel to each one of you. And but before that, I also would like to introduce who we are as an organization that has brought the program to you. So this program has been brought to you by Door Training and Consulting company, which has been there for almost 23 plus years in the domain. And Door Training and Consulting is a part of the BYD group, which offers is the largest group in South Asia region, offering value-added space of HR, leadership development, manpower, staffing, and executive coaching. We also run coach certification programs. And we have in the last 2 decades plus, the kind of clientele that we have is, I mean, one could say that who's who of the industry we worked with. And here on the right-hand side of the slide, you will see some of the brands that we represent exclusively in India. So these are some of the brands that we are, the best in class, as we call them. We offer them in the country. And our core values are what we call care, customer centricity, accountability, reciprocity, and entrepreneurship. And this is a little advertisement, as we say, about our about DDCI. And let's jump into the program and see what we are offering. So this is where we say that each and every attendee who attends today would have received an ebook on coaching as part of the registration process. In case you have not received it, please connect back to the contact through whom you have registered, and we will ensure that you have the book with you. Every attendee today who's attending this event is going to get a 10% benefit for participating in any of our next 2 ICF workshops or our EQTTT, which is scheduled on 10th and 11th of April. The ICF workshops are on 27th, one is starting on 27th February, and the other starts on 23rd April. You will also get whatever questions you have, they will get answered here. And in case some of the questions you feel are not getting answered, we have a poll which will come up where we'll ask you those questions. You can go ahead and put your question in the chat box, and we will synthesize it to put it back to the panel. And there is a raffle for all the attendees. So lucky 5 at the end of the program who are there will get a 25% benefit on the workshops that are coming up. Also, there is a very special prize for participants in this audience who will respond, in the giving qualitative responses for our polls in the chat box. And this is being judged by the moderator panel, and a bestseller book will be sent across to you. And so that's an incentive for all of you to be active and participating in this program. So this is your first poll. What are the questions on business of coaching that you would like to get the panel to answer for you? Please use the chat box to type your answers so that we can synthesize it and put it to the panel. Let me now introduce to you Yogesh Sood. Some of you have already heard him during the pre-program chat. Yogesh Sood is the Chairman Managing Director of the BYD Group. And as I've already introduced to you, BYD is the largest integrator of value-added professional services. He's a PCC ICF accredited coach with 25 years of active coaching and mentoring experience with corporate clients and individual clients as well. He has worked directly with senior leadership teams of many multinational and Indian companies in the areas of performance, problem, team coaching. His one-on-one work with leaders focuses on leadership effectiveness, team conflict, and difficult conversations or dialogues, as we say, at workplace. And for more than 7 years, he has been on the Elite International Panel of Coaches of Korn Ferry and works across global boundaries. He is credited to have founded the first ICF chapter in South Asia, which includes India, in 2005. He is a Harvard alumnus and has co-authored 2 books on coaching. Welcome, Yogesh, to this session, and may I request you to share your perspective and your view on the business of coaching as you see it, and the opportunities and challenges associated with it. You have to share your perspective, because I'll come with specific questions later. Over to you.
Thanks a lot, Ron. And of course, It has been a long journey since I first founded the chapter, and today there are multiple chapters in the country. And it shows how the profession per se has exploded in the last decade and a half. I remember that I always use an analogy of tutoring when we were younger children and growing up. When one would go to a tutor, people would be, going in a very kind of a stealth way, so that people should not see I'm having a tutor, going to tutor's home, or tutor is coming to my place. And from there, today the children are boasting of, I have a maths tutor, I've got a physics tutor, I've got so and so, I'm paying this money to him and her. My dad is affording four more tutors, and so and so forth. So coaching has gone through that stage. In 2005, when I realized that time hardly anybody would be keen to go through a coaching process. People would see it as a punitive process if some company would be putting their people into coaching journey. But today they take a lot of pride in saying I'm being coached in this and that and so on and so forth. So that's one part I have seen, a lot of change in paradigms. What it is brought to keep it succinct is, along with that, is a lot of churning happening. It is a mushrooming business it has become. And we'll be in the process of shifting and settling down. I see in a couple of years down the time, you will see real people, serious people in this business, and many of us would have opted out of it because it's a competitive, it is individual based. You have to build your brand and business at the same time, and it is only for those people who are going to be there seriously for years to come and are committed to do that. So I wish you all the best. I wish all the aspiring coaches and budding coaches, but it's going to be a long haul in terms of development and journey. So all the best wishes from my side. Thank you, Ron.
Thanks, Yogesh. In fact, that brings to mind that recently we were advertising on Google coaching and mentor coaching, and 90% of the responses were for tuition-based coaching. Really made sense of what you're sharing. Thank you for your opening statement. Let me now introduce to you Ms. Leah Zwiglic, our coach from United States of America. For her, it is early morning, and she is sitting in the midst of a snowstorm. So Leah is a managing director of Aster Coaching LLC. She's also an executive coach, and
Ron, we lost you.
No, the slide got stuck, so I was just.
Okay. So, I was wondering you're talking about Leah and showing my picture. So.
Thanks. She's her executive coaching uses systems thinking as a framework managed through appreciative inquiry and behavioral coaching approaches. Through innovative thinking processes, she supports executives and organizations to identify root causes and develop learning capabilities and personal leadership to find sustainable long-term solutions. She acts as a sounding board, supporting her clients make better decisions while encouraging lifelong learning and leadership improvements. She emphasizes integrated management efforts and entrepreneurial management to grow business. She has expertise in change management, learning organization management, and organization development. The clients include Shell, McKinsey and Company, Thomson Reuters, GlaxoSmithKline, Abbott, Aviva, and the Pricewaterhouse, Unilever, you name it, World Bank, WHO, and also some family businesses. Welcome, Leah, and I invite you for your comments on the business of coaching, like you said, the explosion in the need for coaching, and you have 2 minutes for your opening comments.
Okay, thank you. Well, coaching it's a very personal to me. So I see coaching more of sharing my personal journey with other people and participating rather than a business. The reason is I first got started coaching, just like Yogesh said, when I was running a business and I got a government funding, that was, well, a long time ago. That was like 30 years ago. Coaching was part of the condition of getting government funding. So when I went to the coaching session, I wasn't welcoming it. This is a part of thing that I have to tick the box, that I have to go to the coaching session as a part of the qualification. So I went into coaching sessions with a very negative mindset. I'm just going to fill the hour and then I am done and I will get on with my business. But actually my coaching experience ended up changing my life. And at that time I had some conflict between business and personal life, and I had to make a life-changing decision. And the coach walked me through that process. The coach did not make a decision for me, but he gave me a lot of very deep, insightful questions to ponder. And then based on it, I was able to make a decision, and that completely changed my mind. So for me, coaching is really very close to my heart. So I take every coaching session very seriously because I might be able to do the same thing to my learners. And then also when I do the coaching classes, I do the same. Maybe that kind of life-changing experience can happen through the coaching. So currently the coaching program that we are providing in partnership with the team in India is, as I explore coaching, I realized that there's a little bit of a gap between what the business needs and what's available in the coaching market. So through a lot of research and trial and error, we developed our own coaching module, which we have been now delivering, I think, more than 5 years. And I believe in what we do. And I do believe that, especially in the current time where every business, every individual needs to go through transformation to live in this new COVID world, coaching is not an option, it's a must. And because of that, we do need more good coaches. So thank you.
Thank you, Leah. Thank you. Thank you. You really, ensured that many of us become full-time coaches with your intro.
Yes.
Let me now introduce to you our third panelist for today, Mr. Sandeep Budiraja. Sandeep Budiraja is the co-founder, master trainer, and executive coach with BYLD Group. He's also the executive director of the group of companies and represents many global brands in India. With more than 29 years of experience, out of which more than 10 years in the C-level, brings richness in terms of experience to the table. He's an executive coach for many CEOs and senior leaders across industry and has developed a deep competence in areas of leadership coaching and supporting transformation projects at various clients. Sandeep has also worked closely on various global projects in India and outside. So Sandeep, for your Maggie comments on coaching and what you see as your perspective of the opportunity in the coaching industry.
Thanks, Ron, for giving me the chance. My perspective is, coaching is there are 10 ways you can support anyone to develop in their role. And I think one of the best ways when the deliverables are critical, when you have not a whole luxury of time to help people perform, I think the coaching is your best answer. Professional coaching. I'm not talking about manager as a coach, but professional coach. And today we find that the standards are pretty well laid down to become a professional coach. And that also basically sets a good standard. And the good part is these are global qualifications where people can, train across boundaries and they offer their services all across. Personally, I see a huge explosion, which I agree with what Leah said. So last year, probably we would have, certified 20, 30, 40 coaches in the year. This year, we are almost double the amount which we are, certifying. So coupled with personal interest and, need from the market, I think we're in a good place as a fraternity of coaches to help other people go forward. Over to you, Ron.
Thanks, Sandeep. In fact, that is one of the questions that came up, and we will look at it in a deeper sense when we take on the audience questions. So that brings me to our next panelist, Priya. Priya Sharma Sheikh is a communication and leadership and life transformation coach with a PCC accreditation from the International Coaching Federation. She works with individuals and teams across the leadership spectrum to help them become aware of their innate resourcefulness and build executive presence to make mindful choices while communicating, transacting, and transitioning in their lives. She's also an author, corporate trainer, mentor, and public speaker. These roles culminated from a C-suite position she held over 30 years in varied industries like financial services, media, FMCG, and education for Indian as well as international organizations. Welcome, Priya, and for your opening remarks on what you see as the business of coaching and the opportunity in the coaching industry going forward.
So, what are my remarks about the business of coaching? So, this is a question that I pondered over when I turned 50 about 5 years ago. So now you know my age. The beauty of coaching is something I believe everyone should discover. So let me start with that, right? Coaching is such a powerful tool that has the innate beingness of causing transformation in anybody it touches. The thing is that it's a sunrise industry, and more so in India, there's just the beginning. We may be so many coaches here, and there's so many on this panel, but there's still so much to do, so many lives to touch. We're 1.3 billion people. And I feel that, just like when mobile phones came, they were so expensive. Every call was like such an expensive amount of money. And you're like, wondrous of people who held those clunky machines and walked around and made calls like cool studs, right? So we're at that phase today where coaching is more for the elite. It's like more like, everyone, who has a coach is like, wow, you have a coach, if at all, they know what coaching is. There's also the other side of the spectrum who says, coaching, what subject do you teach? So there's this whole, there's a lot of mystery around what exactly one does. A lot of people always say that, oh, you're a coach. What do you coach in? So my thing is this, that there's still a lot of mystery. There's a lot of myth. There's a lot of, not enough clarity on the subject. So this is just the beginning. And what I feel is the potential or the future of this industry is that coaching is on its way to getting democratized. And that's when the maturity of the market comes, when you can actually call a price, then basis the kind of quality of coaching you provide. But there will be a time when I believe that everyone should be able to have a coach and should know what coaching is. So we're just at the beginning. So whoever joins this industry knows that they are joining in at the beginning. So there's enough and enough more to not only learn from, but also grow from this. So I would encourage everyone possible to get, a coaching education, learn to be a coach, be coach-like in your behavior, not only in workplaces, but at homes, in society, with friends, family, etc. So I think it should be taught at school. I think it should be a subject. That's my vision of coaching. How far, how many lives we can touch.
Yeah, thank you, Priya. In fact, when you say that it should be taught in schools and all that, my daughter who's studying in US, she's a peer coach in her college for the students, new students who come in. So it is catching up, definitely there. Yeah. And what you shared about the sunrise industry, I think, is music to the ears of many who are aspiring to be coaches and are on today's.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Priya.
And yet, like having said that, being a sunrise industry does not mean that things come easy. It's in fact all the more challenging because we are the ones who are the early diggers. So it's going to be taking that much more time to invest and make certain that you do the right pathways. So
yeah, you are right. When we started training 23 years ago, people would wonder what you're talking about training.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. So that brings me to our next panelist, who's a very dear friend and a brother to me, Bhaskar. Bhaskar Bhattacharya is a PCC, has over 25 years of demonstrated excellence in leadership development of executives and teams. He has held key director level positions in large size companies prior to graduating into his roles as a consultant and a coach. His unique perspective comes from working with corporate headquarters with worldwide responsibilities and regional responsibilities and externally to medium and large size companies. Bhaskar applies his experience, multiple certifications and education in HR, adult learning and positive psychology leaders for success in various business arenas, including emotional intelligence, communication, leadership, executive presence, and relationship management. Welcome, Bhaskar, and your 2 minutes start now.
Thanks a lot, Ron. It's a pleasure to be here and addressing people who have joined the call today. The first thing that I would want to share is what I heard from Yogesh, Sandeep, Leah, and Priya. I resonate with all of that. And it's a huge opportunity. The best part is this universe is actually exploding. And the pandemic, like it has given a fillip to a lot of businesses, has actually expanded the scope of coaching as well. So, in my experience working with large corporates, I find a lot more need today of people where I have gone to do some other work in consulting or training. They turn around and say, do you know a good coach? Do you coach yourself? So there is a lot of upfront requirement that's coming in, and that's primarily happening because we are in a world which is, I call VUCA on steroids. There's so much of change happening that people have lots of questions, doubts, and they need somebody trustworthy to talk about, to share their perspectives, use somebody as a bouncing board, and also get some insights into things which they are themselves not very clear about. So my experience has been that what used to be restricted only to top management or few high potentials is slowly it's going down the ladder, and more companies are opening it up for the larger population. And the last thing which I'd like to share is, again, from my experiences, what used to be restricted only to a few multinationals is being now embraced by Indian organizations, startups, teams, and there is a whole lot of requirement which is coming in. And I would once again, resonate with what Priya said. It's a huge opportunity. We have, the wherewithal to touch so many lives, so many individuals. So this is an opportunity knocking at our doors, but we have to equip ourselves thoroughly to make sure that when we are given that opportunity, we do full justice to it. Thanks, Ron.
Thanks, Bhaskar. Absolutely, what you said is aligning with what all the others have said. And that brings me to our final panelist, Ratika Mittal. She's an accomplished professional with over 20 years of experience in banking and NBFCs, having witnessed and worked through multiple economic cycles, disruptions, and regulatory changes. She brings in a wealth of experience in managing business in a VUCA environment. Her track record includes producing exceptional bottom line results in multi-million-dollar business units. Ratika's in-depth experience in leading businesses, managing high-performance teams, and building and transforming businesses across multiple leadership roles in the financial sector enable her understanding of the professional context and challenges, and she's skillfully able to project these during her coaching engagements. She has been a mentor, a coach to many team members and colleagues. She has groomed and enabled her team members to take on challenging and leadership roles by building on their strengths. Being a woman CXO and having served on company's board, she brings a unique perspective to diversity and inclusion. Welcome, Ratika, and for your opening remarks on what you see as the business of coaching and the opportunity in the growing industry.
Thanks, Ron. So I am probably the newest member here, but really, inspired by what Yogesh has said, and with 20, 30 years of experience in the coaching. But I think that's what really brought me in. I was lucky enough to get a coach early in my career, and really saw the benefit of what a coach could do. And that's how I got inclined towards this whole division. And now with the way the pandemic has come in, and I think, in terms of what each one of the panelists said in terms of the opportunity that is there, that vast opportunity that's there, I think I'd like to pick up a quote that I read from Albert Einstein. He said, "You can't really explore the new world with an old map." And I think the COVID times the pandemic has really brought us a new map. So while work from home was a luxury at one point of time, suddenly became a part of life for all of us in the last 1 year. And how do you navigate that whole situation, and how do leaders actually really look at things in that perspective? And, you need a different skill set now. And that's why I guess the need for a coach really enhances and increases, because the coach can be that navigator who would help the leader, who will partner with the executive, who will partner with people around to really look at this new world and adapt. And all the words that we talked about, adaptability, agility, which were probably, something that was good to do. The new skills that a manager needs today, a leader needs today, whether it's emotional intelligence, whether it's, really having empathy, open communication channels when you are in a virtual world. All these things are new skills that all of us need to learn. And a coach can really help you navigate those situations and, really help you navigate that entire thing well. So I think there's a huge opportunity. And like Bhaskar mentioned, that I think initially it was coaching in India at least was available or was seen as thing at the MNC level, but I now see a lot of Indian corporates hiring professional coaches, and that I think also opens up a huge opportunity for all of us who want to get in this. So that's my bit. Thanks, Ron.
Thank you, Ratika. Welcome to the this. So with that, let's jump in and try and address the questions. Some of you are already typing your questions on chat. We will synthesize that also and see how we can bring it to the panel. So let me start with you, Leah. You have been in the coach training business for more than 2 decades. How does one really choose a service provider? There are so many institutions offering coach certification training today. So how does one make up a mind which is the best one to align to?
Okay, so currently for coaching, as you said, because of the market situation, there will be explosion of demand, but also there will be so many coaches entering the market, because this happened also last time when there's a financial crisis. Everyone who got terminated from the job, the next day they print a business card. They are either a consultant, coach, or a trainer. And I think the same thing will happen. Actually, it's already happening now, that because companies are downsizing, and then even the young people who are looking for opportunities, they cannot find a job. And then not only that, a lot of independent businesses, and then a lot of them who've been in a service business, now they don't have business anymore. So they will be looking for new opportunities, and we are not the only one noticing that there's opportunities in coaching. So the challenge will be that there will be a lot of demand, but there will be also oversupply. So for coaches who are taking this seriously and doing it professionally, I would say one of the biggest differentiator will be the managing a coaching session is one thing. But after you manage a coaching session, you need a follow-up, and you need to provide the infrastructure for your learners to be able to make the self-discovery and self-improvement. That you need a content. And most of coaches who are working independently, they don't have a content. They can manage a coaching session, and some of them, they might have the right personality, right aptitude to manage the coaching session successfully. But let's say during the coaching session, the person is struggling with prioritization, and you had a very good discussion. You agreed on the action plan. And if you just end the coaching session with that, it's not going to be very effective. You need to send a reminder. You need to send something for learners to act on it, to be able to follow through the action plans. So what we did over the years is we developed a lot of templates and a lot of what we call leadership library, that after the coaching session that we can share with the learners, so that there's something that they can refer to besides the vulgar coaching session that happened. Another thing is coaches are also human beings. We are not, one of the beauties and also downside of being a human being is we are not consistent. Our performance goes up and down. Okay, so we coaches also need the management and the support. So when coaches are working under an umbrella of a company that has the support system, infrastructure, they will be a lot more effective. The third point that I'd like to point out is there are times to go solo. There are times to go as a group. When the economy is booming, it's good to go solo because there's a lot of opportunities. And then because of that, as an individual, even if you get a little bit of a crumb of opportunity, that's good enough. So it's good to go solo. But when the economy is tight, when our clients are demanding the maximum benefit with the minimum financial investment, it's very hard to manage as an individual, as a solo player. So for example, even simple things as if each of you go solo, set up a separate website, how many hours are you going to spend updating and keeping up your website? And how much money do you have to spend? But if you work together as a group, you only need one website. And then even if each of you, let's say 100 coaches split the fees, it's a lot more effective because maintaining social media, website, all that is really, really time consuming. And as I said, with the current economic environment where every company is tightening their budget and every company is trying to figure out how to run the business with the minimum number of people and how can we get extra mileage for every dollar I spend. This is time for people to fall under a bigger umbrella and somebody who have infrastructure and resources and work together as a team. And when we do that, actually everybody will do much better. So typically what happens to individual coaches, or this is same for the training and consulting, when they go solo, what they don't realize is, yes, it's true that per day or per session you get paid more, but you actually end up spending more than 70% of your time with the business development, marketing, administrative stuff. Your extra hours you spend on your core strength is far less. But if you work in a team and you ask somebody to take care of business development, billing, all those other marketing stuff, you can spend all your time for coaching, which you enjoy and which you are good at it. So at the end of the day, when you look at your overall return on investment for your effort, you will notice that working as a team, you benefit a lot more. So I do hope under the umbrella of the organization that everybody can work together and we can create a bigger impact. So each of us can specialize in specific coaching area instead of doing all kind of coaching, because when we are taking all kind of coaching, we don't become good at what we do. But if we work together as a team, we can actually specialize. And when you specialize, you become very good at it. And then because of that, then you're also like coaching rates, your reputation also goes up. So that's my take.
Thank you, dear. Thank you. You have very insightful points, and we'll get into it a little later when some other questions align to it. So that brings me to you, Ratika, because you are the newest kid on the block in terms of having done your post certification. So what are the criteria that you had when you chose a training vendor, and how has your experience been all through?
So I started to get, I decided to get in coaching last year beginning, and and then of course the pandemic happened. So one of the first things for me was when I was looking for a good trainer or a good training institute was how good are they on providing this entire experience online, because you are suddenly moving from offline classroom trainings to a completely virtual session. So I think the ability of the institute to really give you online coaching experience, which is as good as or as close as it has come to a face-to-face experience, that was one. But I think the other criteria that I looked at was, of course, it had to be accredited and acknowledged by ICF, so that goes without saying. But some of the other things that you need, which is like the mentor ask, and do you have a mentor is the institute willing to give you a mentor who can really coach you and mentor you through the entire journey of starting your career as a coach and then going for your accreditations? So mentoring was something which was very important. The other thing that I looked at was how supportive is the institute in terms of really getting, the forming group cohorts or peer coaching, because that really helps you as a new coach or as someone who's getting into this industry new. And I came from a complete business background. I was not really an HR professional as well. So this was a completely new field for me. So to be able to be comfortable in a genre when, have peer coaches that you could connect with offline, online during your sessions, I think these were the three things that I really looked at very carefully to select the institute. And of course, then I went with DOR, and my experience has been beautiful. I mean, of course, I know Sandeep was taking most of our sessions then, and for me, it was a first, let's just say 6 days of virtual training as well. We are all used to classroom training, but this was the first. But the breakout rooms, the kind of engagement we had in smaller cohorts and peers, I think that was fabulous. So and then of course the mentor classes that we had, the 101 as well as the group mentoring sessions that we continue to have through the year. And even today, even while I've completed my accreditation, I can still come in and join those sessions because they are so good. So it's been a great experience, and those were the things that I looked at when I was picking up an institute for myself.
Thanks, Ratika. So Sandeep, what are the qualifiers to become a coach, or in other words, who can become a coach?
Yeah, you ask a tough question. Actually, anyone can become a coach. There is no, as long as you are adult and you can carry your drink. Okay. Besides that, I think, but on the serious note, basic requirement is that you must have some kind of passion towards helping other people. That's a foundational one. And keeping that in mind, and you have some experience of dealing with people at different times, different levels, which typically would translate into maybe a 7 to 10 years of looking at the world. That is not essential. What it does is it builds perspectives, and having perspectives is a good idea when you are going to a field of coaching, because you're going to help people at different levels, different times, and having those perspectives helps you frame and shape your questions, your clarity with which you can help people go forward. So that's as basic as what you need to become a coach.
Ron, if I may just add to something to what Sandeep said, which I found helpful, and actually I've learned it from Sandeep over the years, is it's as a coach, it's very important to know yourself.
Sure.
Because the more self-aware you are, the more clear you will be how you are actually coaching someone, because some of your cognitive biases may go in there. And so the more high degree of self-awareness that you have, the better you can manage yourself better. Particularly when you are dealing with CEOs, senior level coaches, it's very, very important that you know yourself well.
Very true.
Thanks, Mas. Great point. So that brings me to one question, Yogesh. You have co-authored a book on various coaching cultures, and so who better to answer this question? What are the nuances to keep in mind when coaching in different cultures?
Ron, thank you very much for this question. And I, in fact, came across this almost a decade and a half ago when we brought this ICF business to India and started discussing this particular topic with coaches across the globe. And then, there was an opportunity where 15 or 16 of us from different countries, regions, continents came together to put it in form of a book where people can get benefit from it. And if you go through the entire list of articles there, one thing stood out for me very clearly was that the nuances lie in the societal paradigms. When I say how society behaves in a particular country, if what we can understand as a coach, because societal paradigms lead to social business norms, and which becomes the pattern or the basis of social engagements, because coaching is a high degree of engagement. So if a person is trying to coach across the globe, he or she need to look at what are the societal paradigms, how the entire society thinks about a particular thing, how they behave socially, and what are their engagement patterns, and which essentially lead to, if you take it to the deeper or granular level, it goes into the communication patterns, how people, give and take advice, how people give and take in terms of times like stress or whatever the coaching area may be. Just to sum up what I'm trying to say, the societal paradigms are very different in US, for example, where people may be direct, they think they are direct, and they may be more open to new ideas, which they may not be, but they show that they're open. While in, if you look at Oriental world, people are not even open to those kind of, idea of going against the hierarchy or being treated as equals. So those are the typical examples of social norms. Though at the end of the day, all human beings have got a desire to be heard, desire to be respected, and desire to be, kind of engaged. But those are the restrictive or, facilitating parameters. So my experience to sum up has been Let's say, coach, if I'm coaching someone in Thailand or someone in US, if I know a background about the culture, if I know what are their societal paradigms and social behavior norms, and social engagement patterns, sorry, then I can of course get into the nuances. One thing, to sum it up, I've learned it very, very in a hard way, or some kind of in a different painful ways, that I didn't know it initially because I thought I knew. And then I learned over a period of time that in the very first call internationally across the culture, or even your own culture, I set up a communication and engagement pattern. I spend maybe one call or two calls, how we will be calling each other out, how we'll be addressing, or how we can challenge each other, or basically engagement process. So that's, to my mind, is the fundamental difference. And there are of course many the other things which go into the societal norms which we can look at. I think in terms of time, I'll stop here and over to you, Ron.
So,
Thank you.
thanks, Yogesh. And in fact, that reminds me of an American trainer who was sent to rural Africa to train, and his students came late to the class, and he called it out. He said, "You guys are late." So the students turned out and said, "You whites have wristwatches. We have lots of time." People are not aware about the culture. What you said makes a lot of difference.
Yes. You said it.
So Priya, one of the questions that came up was, how does one price for the coaching services he or she offers in the initial days post accreditation? And second part of it is ICF accreditation mandatory to be a good coach?
Okay, so I'll go with the first part of your question, which is regarding pricing. So as you start out your venture, about you've got the certification, you're out there in the market, and you've suddenly discovered this new tool, etc. So just like you start off with anything, any profession, any skill, you start with baby steps, right? Whether it's playing tennis, you go to the basic, niche building wala khel. Whether you're going to cooking, you'll make some simple rice and dal, whatever. You start small. And beginning is the important thing. Once the awareness, I think I think it was Bhaskar who said this, the sense of awareness that comes in, because awareness takes time. And that awareness to get into your own psyche as a coach also is not something that comes like this by just doing a certification. Yes, the excitement is there, the process is there, the skill of actually discovering somebody else's wonder, discovering what their solutions could look like, etc. is there, but it takes time to get to that level. So in order to get to that sense of perfection, or that sense of maturity where you feel that, yes, now I got this, I understand this really well now, so it takes time to begin to get to that level. So I feel this is what my strategy was, that I would usually say, I wouldn't want to give anything for I wouldn't say that I'll give you a discount on what my pricing is. My price is this, but I'll give you a discount. So whatever the pricing that works for you, according to you, that's comfortable for you, in my opinion, I would not give it at a discount. I would give it as I'll give you a free session, but I will not give it for a discounted price because I'm new. So I won't say this, that I'm not good enough. I know my skill, but I'm not at that level where you need to, where I personally may not feel that, arrived at. So I'm willing to offer the first session for free. And until then, you feel comfortable and you have that chemistry comfort, then I'm willing to, offer you the price that I'm at. So what is the price that you should offer at? In whatever understanding I have of the market, there are people who I know who coach at some ridiculous pricing, which is really low, like, $1,000 and things like that. I know people who also quote $1 lakh as a pricing for per session. Now look at the disparity here. It really is up to each individual coach of how to set their pricing. I really feel it's a matter of saying that, what is my time's worth and what is the impact my time is going to make on this person's life. For example, I could be coaching somebody who is, a rank fresher, or who is a young student who's not earning a single penny, whose parents are paying the money for him. Yeah. But I could also be coaching the CXO or the CEO of an organization. And the impact that 1 hour of the student, 1 hour of the CEO is totally different. The impact that's going to have. So automatically my pricing needs to be priced basis that. What's more important than what pricing to decide is to also know who do you want to coach? What's your affinity? Who is your coachee, likely coachee? Is it the housewife? Is it the student? Is it a a middle manager? Is it, a C-suite person? Who is it? And who is it that's drawing to you naturally? Who is it that trusts your ability to coach them? And who draws naturally to your your beingness, your ability to ask the right questions, etc. So once that affinity is decided, then really you decide, what do you want to price this at? What kind of impact is it going to have on this person's life? So for students, usually the pricing that I have heard of is very minimal. And I understand that because students have, they have smaller budgets, etc., although their parents may have big monies, etc. But for C-suite, you should charge at a pricing that's going to impact their lives, because their change is going to impact your entire organization.
Thanks, Priya. We are coming to a close of today's session. We have 10 minutes. So, Bhaskar, can you? What are your suggestions to get the coaching practice started with clients? And if you could just keep it to about a couple of minutes.
Yeah, sure. So one of the techniques which I have been using, which Priya actually alluded to, is a client who is completely unaware of what coaching can do. I have offered trial session. And once you get them hooked in a trial session and they can see what an amazing impact it can provide, or the questions that it can answer for them, then they kind of get interested in talking to you more. And that's one of the ways to actually impact. The other one, of course, is to make a presentation of the kind of work that you have done across different industries, different clients, at what level, and what is the impact that it has created, along with the client testimonials. And they can actually call up these people and find out how it has impacted their organizations. So both the techniques work very well, whether it's a trial session or whether it's a wholehearted presentation with showing them real evidence of change. And I'll also answer the question on the pricing here. If the evidence of change can also be equated with some monetary benefits that the organization got, then it brings a lot of credibility for the coach with the prospect. So I definitely do a lot of that, and I would encourage all the budding coaches to start thinking on those lines as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Roland, I'd also like to add here that it's important to get accredited. It's not necessary that an accredited coach is the best coach, but accreditation ensures a basic standard of not only the certification, the number of hours, some basic testing and things like that. But it does not stop at that. It's the milestone you've reached. Beyond that, you got to keep working. You got to keep practicing. You got to get out there and do your business of coaching.
So I come back to you, Yogesh, in terms of the final question that we have before we wind up. Are there people, Yogesh, who cannot be coached? And if you find such a person, how do you communicate to the sponsor or stakeholder and the learner himself?
Yeah, so Ron, this is a very interesting question, because many times we come across such individuals or professionals or characters or human beings, whatever you want to call them. And from the very first call or second call at best, you can make out of it, because they have been pushed into the coaching process, not they have volunteered or agreed to go into this process of coaching. So it kind of links also to the self-awareness we were talking about earlier. If the person is not self-aware that he needs to be coached and he can benefit from it, he or she cannot be coached, irrespective of hierarchy, function, job role, etc., whatever you may call it. So I personally believe that you can identify that, and I in fact, I asked this question in my coaching calls initially also: are you really willingly here, or are you being pushed as a process because your HR department or your company wants to spend some money on coaching leaders? And the way the answer comes, you can gauge that what is the reality there. And if I sense even 2%, 5% there is a push around this process, I use the very, very, advocated competence of ICF, saying direct communication. I tell him as much or her as much, look, these are my apprehensions going forward, you need to clear them. I also keeping in confidence him or her relay it back to their concerned coaching managers, because otherwise I'm doing injustice to them. And in the process, also jeopardizing my own reputation as a coach, because I know this I won't be taking forward beyond 2 or 3 sessions. So yes, you can identify them by their attitude and the kind of comments they're making, if they're pushed into the process, or at times they're not performing, or there's an exit coaching process. So you need to cut it short, directly communicate to all concerned, and even if they feel at that point in time the coaching process should go on, and the person says yes, only then I take 1 or 2 sessions and engage further. Having said that, I am a firm believer of a tripartite agreement between the coach and the coachee and the sponsoring manager or organization, and the areas very clearly mentioned, because that becomes the directive document. And also, how are you going to measure the progress on these? And every progress has to be timelined and move forward, typically I call it. To sum up, what I'm saying is that if I don't see move forwards and willingness in first or 1 or 2 coaching calls or conversations, at best 3, I will not like to take that step forward, because person is not willingly going through this process. Because and just to sum it up, he may be a case of more of counseling than a coaching, because he might be having some internal challenges, and some other person may be more equipped and comfortable in dealing with that. Thank you.
Thank you, Yogesh. In fact, there are so many questions pouring in, and this session was scheduled for 60 minutes, and I'm at a loss to ask. There are more questions that have come in, but we need to stay on time. So wish to thank each of the panelists for having been here and shared your experience in your perspective. We will try and find a way to have one more session so that we can answer the other questions that people have been putting in the chat box, as well as they have sent it to us in advance. Thank you, each one of you, for being here, and I'm personally for each panelist for their sharing their perspective and their experience and the knowledge that they have.
Raffle.
It has helped a lot for people who are on the call. You were saying something, Sandeep?
Yeah, you promised us a raffle, right?
Yeah, I'm going there. That's where I'm going.
Can we participate in that?
So we are. So with that, Niyati, if I may request you to.
Yes. So here's the bowl with all the names. Yogesh, your name I have not put in there, so you won't get it.
Oh, so glad to hear that.
Oh yes, let me.
Don't drop anyone.
Siddhartha Sen.
Wow, the first. Great.
Person is Siddhartha Sen. Ron, how many you wish?
5.
Five.
Nidhi Reddy.
Wow. Congratulations, Nidhi.
So I hope somebody is recording these names, right?
Yeah, I will record.
She's got the chits.
Okay.
And Zoom is recording as well.
Yes.
Shyam Gopinath.
Wow, Sham, congrats.
Vasant Sanapala.
Oh, congrats, Vasant.
And Gautam Gupta.
Oh, wow. So,
Congrats to the raffle winners.
yeah.
So Ron, I don't know, Gautam is already certified. Can he pass this on to anyone?
I don't know which Gautam is there. There is another Gautam Gupta who was waiting to certify.
Okay. No, I'm just asking.
Yeah, we can work that. I'll connect with the Gautam, which Gautam to confirm, and then we'll decide what can be done. So you can pass it on if it is already set.
Okay, before you close on, I just want to share a statistic which will give perspective on the business of coaching in India. Okay, there are close to about 32,000 coaches ICF certified till date. Okay, and India has 20% share of those. So roughly 6,200 close to coaches in India who are ICF certified between ACC, PCC, and MCC. Okay, but if you look at the ratio of opportunity, population to coaches, India has the lowest ratio, which means there are less number of coaches available per 100,000 people as compared to anywhere in the world.
Thank you, Sandeep. I think that was one of the questions that I did not raise in paucity of time, and you did justice to that, because that I think is a burning question for everybody. Is there an opportunity? Should I become a coach? So you answered that. Thank you very much. Thank you once again for all the participants being here and attending. I hope you've got value, and we'd love for you to share your feedback in terms of how you found this session. And if you would like us to organize one more for you, so please do type in the chat box. That will help us focus on what additional value we could bring for you. Thank you, panelists, Bhaskar, Priya, Yogesh, Sandeep, Leah, all the way from US, and Ratika. Thank you for being there. And thank you for Niyati, Riddhi, and the others who are supporting us through this session. Thank you all.
Thanks a lot, Ron.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Ron.
Thanks,
Thank you, Ron.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.